let's get this one kicked off.
We're here to talk about our top 8 kayak companies and what they could do better. This isn't a video where we want to just rag on those companies. Ultimately, this is with love. We would love to see them make these improvements because in our opinion, if they did, they would be the best possible options out there.
This is a little feedback session. It's like when you go in to sit down with your boss and they're like, we have to talk about a few things. I like working with you. It's so great, except for maybe these 2 things. I'm not going to fire you, but if you fix these 2 things,
you'll be the best.
I'd give you more money.
Yep.
And that's essentially what I'm saying to these kayak companies. You fix a couple of these things, I'm not going to be able to spend my money anywhere else.
So opportunities for improvement. I'm Jeff, this is Paul. We are the Aggressively Average Anglers. And if you haven't been here before, we have tested all of these brands, multiple models. In fact, on this channel, I think we've reviewed 47 kayaks total so far, including some inflatables as well. We have learned a lot along the way because we've been in all of those kayaks. We've fished out of them. We've gone out to our friends at Waterdog Outfitters and tried them out. We've rigged them out. We've done all this stuff with this. So we're not just pulling this off the top of the head. We're not just guessing off the internet. We have actual experience with all of these kayaks. And here's what we'd love to see change. So let's start with the first brand. What do you got?
This is a hard one. This took a little bit of thought, but every single company has opportunities, and this one's no exception. So Bonafide is where we're going to start.
Oh, right at the top, upper echelon.
And look, when it comes to lineup, they got them all. When it comes to colors, they knock it out. When it comes to innovation, they do a really good job. Where do they miss the mark a couple of times? For me, Jeff and I talked about this one as the first thing we said. They're a little bit over-engineered. They're a little over-plush. So when we think about, I think the places where I see this the most is 3 areas. Rudder, when you drop the rudder, the seats, and the foot pegs. The foot pegs, the adjustments, they're a little ungainly. They're a little over-engineered. Same with the way you make the adjustments on the seat. And even the padding on the seat is sort of like if you took an Old Town and you jammed more stuff into it, and the Old Town already, that great seat, but like it's a little over plush. Yeah. And that's how the Bonafide feels. It's not always a bad thing, but it does make it feel kind of, we talked about this, they end up feeling like the BMW of kayak.
It's a little clunkier, it's a little heavier.
Yep.
It has more adjustments, but it's definitely, they're heavy, man. They are heavy kayaks, and it's because they're overbuilt. So it's kind of a pro and a con.
Yes.
And they have like the RS version, they have this SKF, you know, but we're talking more like what's their most popular model, the PWR,
the XTR.
and the XTR, and they're just super heavy, super bulky type kayaks. So
they have a lot of other great features, but if we walked back on the simplicity a little bit, in my mind, in Jeff's mind, simplicity always wins. When it comes down to whoever has the most simple solution to a problem, like when I look at the Crescent seat, it's extremely simple. It's also extremely comfortable, right? And so they usually win on simplicity, but when you find that right balance, they also end up saving a little bit of money. So if you want to bring the cost back, you find a simpler solution that has less stuff, a little less clunkier. You're also saving a little weight. That's where we feel like Bonafide could win a little bit more than they do right now. Next up is their sister company, which is Native, both part of the Big Adventures family of brands, and they make some really, really great fishing kayaks. Big one for us. This is always the biggest gap for this company. They do not spend enough on the marketing for Native. If you look at the influencers that they paid on the Bonafide side, compared to the number and size of influencers that they pay and promote on the Native side, their world's different. If you see on the website, it's going to be Bonafide, 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 Bonafide. Oh yeah, we make names. Bonafide, Bonafide, Bonafide. And it doesn't matter if it's a new release or a golden oldie. It's just they don't pump the marketing time, effort, energy, money into Native the same way they do on the Bonafide side.
I mean, case in point, they dropped a new kayak this year, and I promise you, a lot of people haven't heard about it.
Yeah.
It's the Hammer. So the Hammer looks like a great concept. We're really excited to actually get our hands on it.
A ton
of
unique
in the
stuff.
spring.
Unique stuff that's not in the Bonafide. Like they have a custom trig to fit Newport low pro battery. They made this really incredible design where you can actually fold the drive up. Huge problem with their drive. It gets it out of the way, and it's backwards compatible. So you can take it into the old Natives, which is like so smart. And they're like, yeah, we don't need to talk about that. No, you don't need to hear Bonafide, Bonafide, Bonafide.
A new pedal drive on the market is kind of insane that not that many people have heard about it. So they are really like the redheaded stepchild of Big Adventures Outdoors.
I feel so bad for them.
Yeah.
They dropped the Slayer LTE. You had to like dig to figure out what it was and where it is and what's cool about
when
it.
The Slayer Max dropped, when the Titan X dropped, when the Hammer dropped.
Just tell me about it. Next one, they are heavy enough. They're heavy. We said this about Bonafide. This is even to another level.
I think the Titan X was the, or currently is still the heaviest kayak on the market, 175 pounds.
Ooh.
That's dry hull weight, right? That's nothing even on there. So yeah, they're heavy. It kind of goes with the Bonafide. They're really overbuilt. So you can see how the parent company, Big Adventure Outdoors, they kind of do the same thing with both of those.
On the manufacturing.
Overbuilt, very heavy, lots of plastic involved, which is good and bad.
Again, they do a lot of great things. We love these, but I just want you to fix these couple of things. Lastly, it's kind of a small thing, but ends up being a big thing as you're an owner. And this is the kiddie pool that inevitably collects under the drive where your toesies sit. And yeah, you just have this well of water that lives there. It's like a known problem. People try to fix it a lot of different ways with different scupper plugs.
I've tried everything. I had the Native Titan X for a long time.
Yeah.
I tried the regular plugs, the scupper plugs that come with it. Didn't work for me because water came in through the drive well. I did the drive well fix. Water still came in.
Which a lot of people have said works, especially on some of the older like Slayer models. If you do like some weather stripping around the inside of where the drive sits in, that can solve the problem, but not for all of them.
You shouldn't have to do that.
And you shouldn't have to do that. No.
That should already be fixed by the company itself.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I did the one-way scupper valves too. And that was the best fix, but still not perfect because they get clogged sometimes, basically is what happens.
When you go fishing, stuff gets in your boat, that goes through your scupper holes, and all of a sudden you're screwed. So
line, weeds, rocks, whatever. But it's so known that even with the hammer, they raised the floor saying that that was going to remove that problem. So they know it exists.
Which it should. Like when you look at the design, they basically just need more water. There's these little channels for water in between the scupper. So there has to be an air pocket underneath the scupper. There's just not enough air there. And so when you raise it up, there's more air in the bottom, and then that water stays underneath the water line. So it's just something. That's how it's designed. It sucks. Fix that. These are like little things. Fix these things. Make me happy. All right. Next up, we have Wilderness Systems. They make a ton of different kayaks. We've used a few of them, and we've used a lot of different Wilderness Systems type products, like their crate. And we always find that they end up being like a 7 out of 10.
Always.
And where they miss for the 10 out of 10, so like the design will be like a 10 out of 10. The seat will be a 10 out of 10. The amenity price will be 10 out of 10. And then you'll be like, well, man, I tried to, they have a flush mount install, and like the cap just has like a weak connection, broke off like almost instantly. And then there will be like some weird things like, well, the rod tips don't really fit anywhere quite perfectly. Or maybe the floor is just uneven in an area for the crate to sit on.
Like, or the breaker for the battery is on the lid, and when you close the lid, it touches the battery, therefore cutting the breaker.
Cutting the power.
So that was a silly design.
Just like really small things that sort of get in the way of it being so great or as good as intended. So a little bit unrefined, and then at times there are some cheap components. They almost always win on price, so you're kind of giving to get a little. But that is where, if you wanted to get to 9 out of 10, you could fix a couple of things. And we've always said this to a lot of companies, just let us test this and tell you what you got wrong.
It can be fixed.
There'll be little tiny things that we'll find that other people won't find. Just let me see it before you roll it out. Anyways, I'm done.
You're not done.
I'm not done. You're
so
right.
much more to go.
The big one is on the pedal drive side. So on the pedal drive side with Wilderness Systems,
it's a telescopic pedal drive. So it comes up when you get into shallow water versus most drives will just flip up out of the way. It's a bit annoying. Don't love the design.
Don't love the design.
Even a new company, Camino Journey, Kajo, just came out. They also have a telescopic drive. So I don't know. Are there any fans out there who love telescopic drives?
Right in my way.
Versus the flip-up drives.
And Wilderness Systems, when they have no drive in their Tactical Pro, it's just wide open. It's beautiful. It's exactly what you want. You have a place to, play fish, net huge fish, keep stuff on deck without getting hooks in your feet. The one area I always want to protect is like the footwell. I don't want anything there. That's why we love the consoles, the captain's bridges, right? Because it keeps everything away from you, but within reach, and protects your little cockpit area.
I'll hold this for the second half of this video. Next up, we're going to the OG OT, Old Town. It's kind of tough to rag on Old Town.
A little bit, yeah.
But there are some things you can definitely find if you search for it. Again, this is with love. Let's look at opportunities for improvement. So number one, there's no console area. You don't put consoles in an Old Town, which kind of like addresses the problem we just talked about with Wilderness Systems. Maybe the reason they went telescopic so you could still have a console, but then you can't see what's on the console.
That's the problem.
Still a problem. But on Old Town, you got to flip that drive up. So on just about...
It comes up and it goes forward, and that's right exactly where you would want to center mount
a captain's bridge.
Screen, a captain's bridge. You can't do that. It's got to be offset to the side.
Always. And you're really only going to want to do like one screen, because a big thing about these is they're designed to be minimalistic. If you take an Old Town and you overload it, like how you see some decked out Bonafide XTRs, like this one right here, we'll show a picture. If you do that to an Old Town, you're not going to have a fun day of fishing.
What's going to happen is that design is like the perfect balance. What they really crushed it with is perfect balance between like paddle ability, speed and efficiency, and then stability and ability to stand and then take on a bunch of waves. And so they are right in the middle. But what happens when you weigh everything down, all of a sudden that tippiness becomes more apparent and you're actually feeling it more. I'm not saying you're going to flip over, but you'll feel a little more tippy. And that doesn't inspire confidence, makes you not want to reach behind your kayak, makes you not want to stand up and reach way over and net a fish. You're going to sit down a little more, feel a little less comfortable. So we would like to see a little bit of help on that side of things.
They are also one of the only companies still doing an offset stern mount. So the 4-bolt pattern for your power pole, for your motors.
I'll put a picture right here. You basically have the rudder right in the middle, and that's where I want my motor to go. And they will not change it. They
will never change it. So that is extremely annoying, as is the fact that they won't change it. And that's kind of like the last big piece on Old Town, is that they're old designs. It's like a joke that we always
they always feel dated, even when they come out with a new release, which honestly
it's like a couple years behind. The PDL Pro feels a couple years behind.
It's kind of weird because I think what it really is when they're released, we don't give them the credit they deserve. So when when the Minn Kota integrated autopilot came out, I think we didn't give it the credit it deserved. It is the GOAT. It's still relevant somehow. The Sportsman lineup, but the Old Town, the 10. The PDL 10,
hang in for years.
The best drive, in my opinion, best drive out there. Floats, heavy freaking duty,
good efficiency,
has the
smooth
pocket in it and everything. Like, we love it. But if they had a miss, sort of like the center mount rudder thing, they do not change for years and years and years. So yes, is the autopilot still the GOAT? Absolutely. Is the PDL Sportsman still a really great kayak? Somehow, yes. But also somehow we haven't seen 5 new models in between. So you get stuck with some of the dated things, like not having pass-through ports to do the wiring and all that kind of stuff. So it's a good and a bad. And that's all we have on Old Town. It's not a ton of gripes, but everyone has opportunities. Again, with love.
It's with love for all these brands. So let's go next to Crescent.
One of my passions. I love Crescent, but they've got stuff too. The big one, Jeff said it the second I said Crescent. What did you say?
They recess their tracks way too far. So all of their tracks that they put onto their kayaks, like
if this is the hull, the tracks are like down here just a little bit.
And why that's a problem is when you go to mount a track accessory, it's unable to lock into the track.
Fully locked down.
Yep. Yak Attack, for example, makes little tabs that should sit in the track. So ultimately what you want is your track accessory to be flush with the track, not with the plastic. But what happens is, because the track is below the plastic, it ends up on the plastic, which adds a bit of wobble. So you don't get as much stability of the accessory.
Yeah, and then it's going to come loose. I think that's the thing that really sucks, is you'll crank it down, get it as tight as possible, and then halfway through a fishing day, like, it's wobbling. You're like, but how? Like, I literally used a special tool to do this, and it's still, and it's just because of that gap. So it comes down to, they're really good at making rec kayaks. Their rec kayaks are amazing.
Recreational enjoyment.
And when they do
versus angling.
And when they do the fishing kayaks, they have a lot of really cool, innovative things, like the front tether strap. Everything's molded in, which is great. So it's really minimalistic, which I like. But it leads me to another thing with the track. There's never enough. Like, as a kayak angler, it's not that I want to put more stuff necessarily in it. I need more options as to where I can put things. So if I want to have, for example, I want to have my front-mounted anchor chain. I want to have the anchor thing in front of me, not like way behind me. But
that's the only option.
But I only have like 12 inches of track, so if I need a camera to go up there to film, all of a sudden I can only really use that track for one thing. And there's 4 tracks typically on a Crescent. So once those 4 items are locked in, I'm just out of options as to where I can locate things. So if I want something closer, kind of screwed. There's nothing you can do. The other thing that has always bothered me about Crescent, and this goes back to their design. They're minimalist design, but they just miss on a couple of things. It's just like a lack of refinement when it comes to the fishing side, because they're so good at the recreation side. The paddle, the owner just loves to have the paddle clips, the space for the paddle right next to you, like where your heels are going. So what ends up happening a lot of times is I can't use it for that because it's so close to my feet. I'm literally getting tripped. So what I want to do is I need to mount the paddle holders way in the front or use the little pouch, and then that gets in the way, or is using the only track that I have. So it goes back to just, there's some things that they're so advanced on, the simplicity, cool ideas, but then they just miss on a couple of things, like the track, not enough track, or just having, even the cockpits aren't big enough to take the 16 by 16 often. And so you have to, like with a smallie, it's really 13 by 13 or bust. There's no room for anything else.
Talking about kayak crates in the rear tank well.
Thank you. Just not having enough space for like the modern fisherman, right? And they're just like, minimalist, deal with it, which while I can appreciate, it takes them out of the running for some buyers. Because like, no, I'm taking a 16 by 16. It's all I've got. Because every other kayak uses it. And they're kind of like, too bad.
Yeah, you're really only going to see like minimalistic builds with any Crescent because if you overbuild them, you're not going to be happy because they're just not made for that.
Well, it comes back to the design. They are paddle first design, which, dude, they make one of the best river fishing kayaks that money can buy. The Shoalie is incredible. The Smallie is probably the best equipped creek fishing kayak that you could ever get your hands on. That being said, when you go to take it in other areas, it doesn't have the stability to be able to stand and fish as well as other kayaks. So when you look at, even the RVR is a little more stable. The RS definitely a little more stable on the lake, but still can do pretty good. The new canoe, the U10, I think is like the best example of, I can stand pretty much in any situation, in a river, in a creek. Does it paddle as well as the Crescent? No, but do fishermen care as much? Not as much these days. So it goes back to that modern design. But hey, if you want a paddle boat, you can't beat them.
So the next brand we're going to talk about, we really haven't featured on the channel, like at all.
No.
But it's one that we're very familiar with and have used some of their kayaks in the past. We just haven't used a lot of their newer models.
People ask about them all the time too.
Yeah. So the big thing with Jackson kayaks is that number one, they're really heavy. Number two,
oh God, they're heavy.
They're pretty overpriced. And number three, they need some new designs. So
those are three big ones though. Yeah. 3 big ones, because when I look at Jackson, they have the same problems as Old Town. Released a really, really great original kayak. Sort of, we're the genesis for fishing kayaks being what they are today, a huge part of that. And they just like don't release new things. And then the designs have gotten dated and they're heavy, like Jeff said. And it's a problem.
They're not getting a lot of marketing either. So you really don't like see a lot about that.
No.
You'll have your diehard Jackson fans in any comment thread. And we definitely get them a lot. And, you know, appreciate you for enjoying that kayak.
Yeah.
And just for us, like a big reason you don't see them on the channel is because Water Dog Outfitters doesn't carry them. And nobody has a demo pond that carries them.
They're overpriced too. So that's the problem with like...
It's tough for them to move that product.
They cost too much money for what they are because they're not as modern as some of these other kayaks. They have a lot of modern features that need to be updated, and they just are not releasing new models. So like if they re-release some of their prior kayaks with like some of the new features that we've expected, they can get the weight down and then find a way to optimize that cost. I would be talking about Jackson all day. It's just... Which
is also not unheard of because many companies have already done that.
Absolutely.
You can re-release. You can update them.
No, you need to.
Hobie's done it. Old Town's done it.
It's the same gripe with Old Town though. It's like, hey, when you're going to do a new release, make it so modern that it's going to last you 10 years, right?
Yeah.
And
don't update it to be 2 years behind.
And they did just release a new model, right? But now is the time for Jackson because they are falling behind, and there is this unfortunate perception of, you're just not with the times like everyone else is. And so they would, if they did release one that had a better price and had a just lower weight, we would be talking about it. Absolutely.
It's just tough because there's so many other kayaks that are new or new within the last 5 years that just have better features than the Jackson kayaks do and are more affordable.
For the same amount of money. So that gets tough.
So it's like, I'm just not putting it
I want them here. I want them to play here. So this is us again with love. I'm begging you to do this so that I can bring you guys onto the channel, show them a better option. Same with all the other kayak companies. The last one.
Hobie kayaks. Now, this one is tumultuous. Why? Because they just got acquired by Bass Pro Shops. So we don't know what new Hobie looks like. Nobody knows what new Hobie looks like. Hobie doesn't know what new Hobie looks like, and neither does Bass Pro. So we're kind of talking about Hobie pre-Bass Pro acquisition.
Up until this point.
Right. So what has been the issue with Hobie? As always, they so pricey, man.
Holy crap.
Always.
Over $5K for a kayak right now.
Like just on purpose. Like they're just being the most expensive on purpose.
This is the Mercedes, right? So Bonafide is the BMW.
Yeah.
The Hobie is the Mercedes. And you know what goes along with that is you have to pay not only to make the purchase, but to maintain them. And if you don't maintain them, because they're so over-engineered, that's point number 2. So over-engineered that when something breaks, like you can't fix it.
Nope.
You like the Hobie 360 is the most sought after gem, but is the perfect example. So if anything breaks on a Hobie 360, almost anything,
you have to go to a service center.
And now they don't exist, but let's assume they did exist. When you went in to get them fixed,
which we did 3 times,
it just sucks. And if you need a new drive, like I did, because mine exploded,
$1,000,
$1,100, and that was like the last one in existence. That was literally not an inventory. I had to pound pavement to find one. And it was not easy. And then it cost me.
Yeah.
Brutal.
But even the lesser parts, I had to replace the clutch system, which is how the 360 drive works. And the service center I had to go to for that cost $350. That's not even the drive. I also needed a new drive belt. A big issue, a known issue that they had before they came out with the XR is that the drive belt, which is just part of the turning system in the Hobie 360, would snap. At some point, it would just snap. And when it snaps, you can't turn the drive. It becomes a free-flowing chuck. It just goes beep, 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 beep,
Watched it happen on film. I
Yep.
can see the thumbnail of the video, and I can see the moment and hear the moment when it happened. Flashbulb memory.
Drove in circles, and we were at the Knucklehead Bass Fishing Tournament for KBF.
Alabama, yep.
And in Alabama, very far from home, and my drive broke on practice day.
At like 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern.
Yep. So for the next day, we had to go at night. We had to tape it, gorilla taped my drive.
Didn't even do it right.
Straight.
Just made a ball of tape and jammed it in so that it could only go straight. Just make it so it can't turn, and then we just use the rudder.
So there's an example. It's just completely over-engineered. Is the concept amazing? Yes. It's brilliant.
When it works.
When it works.
Phenomenal.
But when it breaks, you've got a major issue. And then they came out with the XR, which was like, how do we fix this overcomplicated issue? I have an idea.
Add more gears.
Let's add 10,000 more parts.
No.
The XR has so many more components to make the 360 work. It's mind-boggling.
So we've already complained about this with other companies. This, like Bonafide, this takes it to the next level, right?
Yep.
And there are some instances where Hobie does a great job of simplifying things, like the Lynx.
The Lynx is brilliant.
The iTrex angler, right?
Yep.
There are some really good opportunities out there, but still the result is good, but it all comes down to like one little plastic tab. And when that one plastic tab breaks, the whole system, house of cards, comes tumbling down.
Somehow collapses.
And then will be so expensive, prohibitively expensive for you to fix. So look, love Hobie, love some of the designs. They are on the precipice of the future at all times. We love that. We still want to see it. But again, if we could bring the price back just a little bit, my dude, and then if we could make it so that when one little tab breaks, the whole system's not collapsing. Those would be my two biggest gripes with one of my favorite companies, which is Hobie.
Yeah, and the final gripe on them is hull integrity.
Oh, Lord
the biggest issue or complaint that anybody has ever had about Hobie, the most common thread that goes around is the hull integrity, being that the hulls crack. And the reason that they crack, a couple of reasons. It's usually under the seat risers on the Hobie Pro Angler, and I've also heard in the rear tank well and under the seat on the Hobie Outback. Right?
Two most popular models for anglers by far.
Right, and they're the ones that get built up, so they tend to be a little bit heavier once they get rigged out. So the hulls will crack because you're going to overbuild those kayaks, like especially the Pro Angler. You're going to deck that thing out, the Outback.
So it's for.
You know, that's really the idea, right? So there's a common issue where a lot of people have proposed like, hey, you just need to add recessed plates. Like there could be plate under the seat risers. They didn't do that. There could be more foam inside the hull, which would add additional support. They've done none of those things. And when the hulls crack, you have to replace the entire kayak. You don't have a choice. Where do you get that replaced, Paul?
Nowhere.
Oh, nowhere, because nobody's doing that.
Yeah.
I've heard horror stories of folks waiting years for a hull replacement, which is
not
okay. For like a $5,000 kayak, that's not okay.
You would expect the customer service at that level to be peak, right? If you're paying for the Mercedes experience, that should be part of the experience.
It's F tier.
What's happened in the last probably 3 years, which is part of the reason they've been sold in general, is that...
So hopefully it changes.
Yeah, hopefully it changes with new Hobie, but that was part of the problems that they were having is the kayaks were too expensive to begin with, and they weren't making enough money on them, and part of that's the over-engineering, right? So that balance of power hopefully shifts with the new ownership, and hopefully they can still release new stuff that's cutting edge, that's awesome, at a price that you can afford, and hopefully it holds up. Tough balance to strike, to be honest with you. Yeah. But we'll see. I'll take what I can get. I'm optimistic.
I'm optimistic about all of this. And that's really the whole concept behind this video. This idea was just to have some tough love with these brands. Because
feedback sesh. So going back to the beginning of the video, all this is with the most amount of love. These are like, I love what you're doing. You're at a 9 out of 10. I want to get you to an 11 out of 10. It's my favorite place. How do we get you there? Well, we got to fix these 2 or 3 things. And so that goes for every single one of these companies. We love the kayaks. We love the concepts. We love the competition. And what we want to see is everyone be at their best, because what happens when the companies are at their best? We get all the best stuff.
Consumers
at the best price.
win.
Help me help you. And that's exactly what we're doing. So if you're one of these kayak companies, hope you're watching, hope you're taking notes. Let us know what you guys think down below. Before you subscribe, ring the notification bell. Join us live Wednesdays, 8:15 p.m. Eastern for our live chat, which is like a podcast, but it's a live chat. Before you do any of that,
it is a
podcast. Leave a comment down below and tell us what your company, the company that you use, your favorite company, or what would, if you had one little change, if they change one thing, what company would you start looking at being like, well, I was going to buy one of these, but now that you fixed that, I'm going to go with you. Let us know what that would be. Leave a comment down below. And that's it.
Okay, thanks. Bye. See you on the next one.
Appreciate you guys. See you later.